Jadrian. We've got another Norathian design that we want you to check out. Today we're actually with Alanducar on the Everfrost server, and he's going to be taking us through his Rustic Homes and Byways. So I'm really excited for this. I'm really excited because it's my first time on Everfrost. So I'm with my level 1 gear, so I'm really excited. We're going to come through. He's right there in front of me, so he's going to walk us through. Let me zoom in, that way you don't look at the back of my head. And let me ask you real quick, Alanducar, do you have anything that I need to read? Otherwise, I'll just hide my OUI so everybody can see everything.
Well, there is some signs up. I can read those aloud if you'd like. Make it easier for you.
That'd be good,
but there are a few.
Yeah, do that, because I don't want people to have to be looking at my stuff. I want them to see your home as much as possible. All right, so I'm set. I'm on, not on follow, but I've got my walk mode on. It's all yours. Take it away.
All right, we come into the place. Obviously, I got a nice little entrance set up here. I wanted something to kind of show off give it that welcome in vibe that most rustic homes or villages would have back in those days. So I've got a lot of plants and flowers and everything else set up. We got over here we got a stable. One of my signs up, and there's a story behind this sign, but it's called Allie's Livery and Stables. Underneath that it says, "Your mounts are safe with me. No rats in these stables at all, I assure you." And there is a story behind that, believe it or not. My guild leader, I'd been asking for suggestions in guild about what to put into the stables, and she constantly come up with the idea, well, you got to have a rat. You got to have a rat. So I added that sign in just for her.
Well, I like the design. When I look at this, it really does make me think of stable, how I would envision like a medieval type of, old-fashioned stable. So that's really nice.
I did have some help. Kiane of Troy, who you did a tour for, did come in onto my server and assist me in some of the design here. She told me it's not to do that, but I shamelessly plugged her anyways.
We don't mind. In fact, that's really nice, because what that really shows is there's a really good close-knit society here, if you will, of crafters, and I think that's really cool.
Yes, I see you're heading up to my my storage area where I put all the sacks of grain and the hay loft and all that.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself.
Down below.
We've also got Pat M just kind of hopped on here, so hopefully, how you doing, Pat? Maybe they'll have some questions for us today.
Yeah, I think overall what I was trying to go with on this house is the medieval theme. That's what I try to stick with the most in this place. I know it kind of deviates at some points, but I did my best to try to stick with that theme. Alright, now we're up by the bar area. This is the inn and slash bar. I named it Decker's Drift Inn. Kind of a play on my play on my name. Fine wines and alcohol from around the world, and a warm bed besides. As you can see, I made a little patio, which was actually a tough process to make this. because you had to split between the patio and the actual inside. You know, you had to make the flooring differently, so it's kind of tricky to line up just right.
Right, I can imagine. I'm going to take a peek in a window here. Well, it looks great from the
as you're
outside.
scanning, you're probably seeing all the different bar stools and
Yep.
and all my different types of drinks and things like that that I put into this place. I would have added more, but my item count was fairly full by the end of this project, so.
I'm going to sneak behind the bar to take some shots here real quick.
Oh, no problem. A fairly simple design. I didn't want to get too fancy with it because I knew I was going to want to add more to this island, so I tried to stick with as much simplicity as I possibly could. Oh, and just for those that didn't know on your show, these are actually all the Freeport. A lot of this is the Freeport stuff. So if they have a tune that's on the Freeport side, you know, they'll possibly have access to all these items down here.
And we are slowly coming up with you.
Basically, up here, I just wanted to give it a little sitting room, nothing fancy. I was thinking about putting maybe like a bit more of a dining experience up in here, but again, item count was something I was watching the entire time I was in this place working, so couldn't do a lot of technical stuff.
And these are cozy little rooms.
Now this had to have been one of the hardest areas to do, aside from later on in the island. I'll show you. But these windows, these ice tiles, they didn't want to line up correctly, so it took quite a bit of work to kind of adjust them to an extent where they actually looked like plausible windows.
What did you use for your window? Because they look kind of frosty.
Yeah, these are the polished ice tiles. Usually they only come around once or twice a year, but recently they've started adding that stuff to Marketplace. And since that was just the light, this is more like your suite. You know, it's a larger area. Nicer looking stuff.
Oh, I like this sitting area. Right, that looks right through the window. That's nice.
Yeah, and again, it's not really extravagant, but it's enough to say, oh, this is nice. You know, you can sit down and look outside. And as you can probably tell, I'm a big fan of the bay windows look. I've always liked bay windows. You just get so much more scenery that way, rather than trying to put in a smaller thing, a smaller window or something of that nature.
Now, you keep mentioning the item count. How many items is this space allowed, and how much about are you at?
I've actually used the full item limit. It's, if I remember right, it's 1,100. And I used every single item that I could possibly fit into this place.
And when we come outside, is this one of those areas that's normally flat, so you've had to add the trees, or did this come with some trees?
Oh no, this whole area is flat. When you first purchase it, it's a completely clean slate. So you have to add pretty much everything you see in here. It's been added by myself. It's my little barnyard. I figured I'd make it a bit more like getting stuff ready for market, since I did put an emphasis on the market square. So I figured I'd put this, set this up in such a way to make it look like people are getting ready to farm and send it off to market.
Now, I hadn't seen this wagon before. Is that off a market or a merchant?
That was actually, if I remember right, that is from Freeport. I had to have a friend of mine get me those. They're called merchant display cart.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I actually had to find somebody that had the faction, because I couldn't buy them on my own. Now you're out in my garden, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Can't have a farm without a place to put down your crops, so that's what I set up here.
And you gotta have a scarecrow.
Yep, complete with scarecrow. This patch in back, I just wanted to put it there to make it look like this was being tilled for more crops. That's what this back here is for.
Mm-hmm. I guess your farm hands must be off for the day.
Oh yeah, they're pretty lazy. Didn't even bother to put the tools back. Now this isn't a big element of my my island, but if you look off in the distance, you can actually see items floating around over in the water there. Although I couldn't actually really put much emphasis on the pond out there, I did manage to throw some stuff up there to give it that depth that this is an actual living, breathing village and not just, you know, an empty plot of land.
And is that what you were going for? A theme of like a small village?
Absolutely. That's absolutely what I wanted this to be like, and I put all these trees and such outside the fence because, you know, any village would have a heavily forested area surrounding it.
Mm-hmm.
So you see a lot of nature items and a lot of trees and things like that out there because it just gives it a whole nother credibility as far as being a village. And now you're about to walk into my market square. This is where all the where I put all the mercantiles and things like that.
Now with the village outside and then you have the walled parts around the city, this kind of almost feels you know, like a small castle community.
Well, I did want to, like I said, give it that feel without it being necessarily, necessarily with a castle, but I definitely wanted to give it the feel that it was like a medieval, so it only made sense to me to kind of wall off the market square like most cities would have. You feeling thirsty?
Yeah, I'm like,
found my well.
I want to jump in there and climb on your rope. Did this well come this way, or did you have to construct this?
I actually had to construct this the way it looks. You know, I actually used a mosaic square or tile and sunk that down, and then I have two adamantine round pool, which you can't tell is there because that block you're standing on covers up the pool itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put a watery platform down as well to kind of give it more depth.
And they actually had a rope.
That is actually, I can't remember what I used. But that is actually not just a single rope. That is a Cytherian skull trophy.
Oh.
I was recommended to grab that since it has a rope appearance.
Mm-hmm.
So it really worked out well. It's simple. It was easy to make, and it has so far has impressed a lot of people. Something so simple.
Yeah, it caught my eye right away.
Obviously, you can see you got your basic merchant tent with fruits and vegetables and things like that. It's a common theme in this this area. There's a lot of these stands set up. Now we're about to go into Gonem's blacksmith shop and firing up the forge for all your metal goods. Again, as you can tell, I used the giant bay windows. I really liked the design of them. And these are different than what you saw earlier. These are actually misty fog tiles. And they just worked out so well with this. Because I imagined with a blacksmith shop, you got the steam and smoke coming from your forge, so it gives it that kind of smoky look.
Oh, it really does have that effect when you see the forge from inside and it's right up against the glass. It really does make it look like you do see a lot of that fog and steam rising.
And as you can see, I made a little workshop here. We got pretty much everything a person that was working at a forge would need. And as you come into the other side, you're going to see a bunch of goods and items on display. And tried to keep it as rustic as I possibly could, so I went with a lot of the older carpenter items.
Mm-hmm.
So none of this stuff is brand new. I know you've probably seen this in the distance, but this is my guard tower, because honestly, no medieval town is complete without some form of guards or guard presence. So here we got this little setup in here.
This is very, very good, very convincing. About how long does it take you to, like, let's just pick this structure. If you were going to say in hours, how long did it take you to line the stairs up and get this structure built?
Oh, this probably took about 2 or 3 hours. In the end, it comes down to just what you're trying to build. This didn't take too long. A lot of this was actually the marketplace stuff. You know, I finally broke down and decided to buy some marketplace dividers and things like that. But usually I don't like to use those.
You have a really good view from up here.
Yeah, this is probably the best view on this entire island as far as trying to take everything in. I definitely like, definitely have to say, whenever I've built on this island, I always like to have one structure that's higher than the others, just so I could get a great view of the entire area.
And from up here, I still see we have, looks like maybe 2 more large buildings, and I can't really tell from here, but some kind of park in the back.
Yeah, that's correct. Now, if you follow me here, we'll go into Stame's Needle and Thread Shop for all your tailoring needs. Now, Stame is actually a character in our guild who is actually 8 years old, and I figured I'd name this after her because she is a tailor. So
that's very cool.
She's just absolutely adorable. So.
Well, she must be pretty tickled pink to know that you've got a building in here named after her.
Oh, she's absolutely ecstatic about it, yes. She's pretty happy. And I gave it some authenticity with some rolls of fabric and different, I got pillows and rugs and things like that on display. So it gives it that authentic tailor shop look. This other room's just a basic bed and tailor sewing table and whatnot.
Which makes me think, when you watch and look back in that time period, you know, they actually had their live-in quarters was part of their place of business as well.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going for. That, and they didn't have a very extravagant living quarters, as people back in there tend to be a lot really poor. So that's why I went with such a simple overall look for that house. next house, however, is going to be completely different than the rest of them because it's actually, I would say it would be something akin to a mayor. That's why he's got a large garden out front like this. This house is the one I wanted to have set aside just for someone of high authority. So you got your basic sit-down area, a lot of bookcases up. Usually, again, people of higher authority tend to have a bit more intellect than most poor people did back in those times. So that's what the bookcases are there for.
And a much nicer bed as well.
Exactly. See, I still went with simple in here, but at the same time, I also took some liberties and added a bit more flair to this particular house. I think this actually took me the longest to build out of all of the homes I've done in this island. Took me several hours overall.
Wow.
If you look into the fireplace, you'll actually see I put a campfire. It's the Thexian campfire house item. I just thought of Skyrim and how they had the meal set up in there. They had the campfire inside of fire, something boiling over the fireplace. So that's what I did there.
Yep, and I can just barely on the back side see the rings. Or that ring right there of stone.
As you can probably guess, this is a kitchen. I figured the mineral salt that's up here, that's sitting above, I figured that's what, I was told that's what they used a lot of back then to keep their meats fresh. So I've got the meat buckets sitting there and some fruit and basic stuff. Careful in this doorway. Your tune's a bit bigger. I've had people tell me they've gotten stuck in here, which hasn't been an issue for me for some reason.
Well, cats are skinny.
This is my basically this is my it's not a pool, but it's just a bath.
I was going to say, it just reminds me of like a large Roman bath,
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking when I designed it. But I figured if it was somebody of a higher stature and they were rich, they'd probably have something rather extravagant just like this sitting in their house.
Just makes me want to jump in.
Oh, absolutely. It's just, unfortunately, the water here is actually not you can't swim in it, unfortunately.
Is this like a tile then across the top, or what exactly are you using for the water?
This is actually a tapestry of the Steam Lord.
Ah.
As you can see at the end here, you can barely tell that there's these little hooks in the wall here. The Steam Lord tapestries make for great waterfalls and baths and you name it. Great tool. I highly recommend it.
Now that you mention it, I think I've seen before where someone had it like a shower and they had one layout saved with it turned on, and then you pushed a button and it loaded a a different layout, like exactly same room, it's just that it was turned off. So you could actually turn the shower on and off. So that's actually a really good piece of equipment there.
Well, as you know, you got to work with what you have, and unfortunately, the designers in the game haven't made anything that's like pool-like, where you can actually swim or things like that. So you just kind of have to work within parameters.
Well, and I'll tell you, when you asked earlier before we came on, you know, why did you, one of the inspirations for doing this show, and that's one of the inspirations right there, is just to see the creative side of how folks can put this stuff to use and make it, you know, actually into something that's believable. And so, you know, that right there just shows you, hey, even though it might be a tapestry, it's now a pool.
Absolutely. I've actually done many projects using that tapestry for many different things, whether it be aquariums, pools, and what have you. Now, of course, you're in my park. Couldn't really make it as elaborate as I wanted to, because by this time it was I was really stretching my item count thin. So up top here you got a basic font of Kromzek that I sunk down a bit, so it has a more I don't know, I just ended up liking this look, so I went with it, and it worked out fairly well.
Oops, I fell off.
That's no problem. You're over near the sitting area, basically. Just a basic sitting area. I used the Lover's Grand Veil, which was actually a brand new Aerolisi Day item. Same with the seats, the Lover's Grand settees, that I just thought would work really well in this corner.
Now, I haven't tested these. Are these seats you can actually sit on? I know they have some you can and some that you can't.
I'm not actually sure myself, honestly. Probably could. Huh. Well, there you go. Kind of.
It's a work in progress for me. My aim is not very good, as people have noticed in some of my shows, so it probably can be done, just not me.
I put a lot of elements into this park, though. What I've tried to do is put a lot of flowers and things like that, and you'll see certain patches of grass that look like they have fireflies buzzing around. That just added an extra nice effect to the whole garden.
Yeah, I saw that, and it just really made me think, you know, you added a whole other layer of realism there to see the fireflies and the buggies dancing around it. And then I like, especially, even though it's the kitchen, but it has a nice view of the garden as well.
Again, point out that it's a giant bay window, and I happen to love bay windows, so I tried to put that into all my work.
Hey, Alanducar, do you like bay windows? What I like too is that you've used, what kind of tile is that you used for the wall of the garden?
Oh, the actual wall itself? That's actually not a tile. These are hedge seeds that you get during Nights of the Dead. I had a bunch of them laying around in my in my storage room. And I was like, you know, I got to really do something with these things. So I just went ahead and set them up like you see them. And it just kind of made a really nice enclosure for the whole park. So
Now, does this particular piece of land, does it have a day-night cycle?
I do believe it does, but it's really hard to tell because it's darn near perpetually always light out, so it's kind of hard to tell.
I was just wondering, not that we'll stay that long, but if it did, I bet this would look really nice at night, lit up with your 4 pillars there with the flames on top.
And possibly I'll do something like that on one of the day-night cycle areas.
Oh, and I just got word this
Maybe
one does not have day-night cycle.
Okay.
Alright, what else do you have hidden away for us, or is that everything?
I do believe I showed everything. I don't think I've omitted anything to this place.
Well, I just have a couple questions I like to ask everyone. First being, what is your most favorite part, your most favorite element that you have here?
You talking about overall, or what areas I like?
Yeah, what do you like
to
best
make the
about this
most?
space? Yeah.
Overall, I love the fact that it's a clean slate when you walk in, so you can pretty much turn it into anything you can possibly think of. This doesn't limit you like most prestige homes do. A lot of prestige houses and homes in the game have, you know, already set walls and limits. This one is no limit other than the item count.
And of the things that you've created, is there anything that you would want to change?
Honestly, there's nothing here I can see that I would want to change. I just would like the opportunity to add more to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to have more item space, you know, item count and all that. I think there's so much more could be put into this house. Especially where the pond was, where I showed you earlier. All I have over there right now is a bunch of basic trees and a couple of floating logs in the water. I really would have liked to kind of turn that into something more, but unfortunately the item counts really limit you to how much you can put into a place.
And one last question that I have. If you were to encourage role players to come here and use this area, how would you envision this being used as a role-playing get-together?
How would I envision it? Basically envision it to be exactly what it looks like, a living community where people are actively doing a daily routine and role-playing it out. I think that's basically what I would see in this place. Like you'd have your tailor, you'd have your blacksmith, people out farming, people tending to the horses. That's what I would see here.
And on your visits, have you caught anybody in here visiting, or do you find that, you know, there's maybe times where you actually see some folks or don't? I'm just curious, how do you feel? Is this a used space at all yet?
Well, I have had some people come in, and I've done several tours already for some of the folks I've met. So, yeah, I'd say people come in here and at least investigate and check it out.
Great. Well, what I'm hoping is that people will see this and be encouraged and inspired to come and do some role-playing in here and use it as the community it's designed for. So I'm hoping that they will drop by now.
Only thing we can do is wait and see.
Well, that's excellent. Well, thank you so much for the tour. I appreciate you taking time to visit with us. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hand the floor back to you for just a moment. I like to hear if you have any words or tips on how to design and decorate for like the new folks who might be seeing this and are maybe seeing this for the first time. What kind of words of advice do you have out there for our crafters or maybe even new crafters?
Basically, what I would tell someone, anyone really, is don't limit yourself. Keep your creativity flowing and let it run wild. You know, you really don't know what you can make unless you really put your mind to going outside the box, as it were. So don't limit yourself.
All right, great words of advice. Well, thank you so much again. We're going to go ahead and turn the medieval equivalent of the camera off now, and we'll go ahead and get this posted on the forum for you. And you know, keep up the good work. This is an outstanding place, and I look forward to seeing more of your creations.
Well, thank you very much. I hope to be on the show in the future.
Wonderful. And we've got you down as wanting to do the design war, so we'll see if anybody out there wants to go ahead and go on to a challenge with you as well.
And that'll be excellent.
All right, great. Thanks again. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.